Hi, and welcome back to the Beyond Aromatics podcast. I'm your host, Savannah Rose. Today we have on special guest Angela Sidlo. Angela is passionate about health and wellness. For the past 12 years, her focus has been on helping women worldwide find balance in body, mind, and spirit using essential oils. She holds certifications in holistic aromatherapy, health coaching, reflexology, and Reiki, bringing this unique foundational skill set into her practice. As a menopause success coach, through her own experience of going through menopause, Angela uniquely holds space for women to make beautiful transformational shifts to reclaim their vibrancy in the wisdom years with ease and grace. She gently guides women to make small changes and become co-creators for big results in finding hormonal balance. In her practice, she offers public speaking, one-on-one coaching programs, small group workshops, retreats, and supportive online programs. These include the 14-day Hormone Balance Detox, Aromatherapy, the Gateway to Happy Hormones course, and the Menopause Success Mastery Program. She currently serves as an Oregon Regional Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapists, teaches aromatherapy at the Oregon School of Massage, formulates essential oil blends for Columbia Memorial Hospital in Astoria, Oregon, and has her own line of Menopause Success health and beauty products. Angela is also the co-author of the Silver Lining Storybooks. We have Angela on today to talk about her new book, Aromatherapy for Menopause Success. Can't wait to get started and for you guys to hear this interview. Enjoy! All right, Angela, thank you for being here today. It's exciting to talk to you again after we got to spend some time together in Egypt and get to know you and what you do and, meet Kirby too. And we're happy to have you on the phone with us.
Great. I'm so happy to be here too. And it's nice to connect with you again, Savannah.
What have you been up to since you've been back?
Oh my goodness. Already planning another trip to England to do some more things with essential oils in the fall. So lots of planning going on.
Will Kirby be joining you for this one?
No, I think he's going to join us in August next year for the second Glastonbury, England trip.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. I'm excited for that. Hopefully see some good pictures from it. So, well, when we were in Egypt, I learned that you wrote a book, and I kind of knew this before, but I got to put a face to an author. And who I was really impressed to hear how excited she was about it was my Egypt roommate, Sandra Schuff. She was super excited talking to you and hearing what you had to say. And I was thinking wow, that would be such a good episode for a podcast. So if you don't already know, Aromatherapy for Menopause Success was written by Angela Sidlo. And this book is sold through Naha, so you can find it on our website. And let's just get into it. I think I just got done reading your book, so we could have this interview. It's kind of something that, it's definitely sentient in my mind because I am a woman, but, I'm younger. So something like menopause is something I just haven't thought about recently. But I'm glad I read your book, and I'm glad I have this perspective going into it. And I also have this perspective when I'm interacting with women and understanding this is something we just all go through together. It's so unique to us, and it's beautiful and angry, and it seems it's a mixture of emotions. So in the book you kind of talk about what got you started in aromatherapy, and I would like it if you could share with us kind of how you got started with aromatherapy and then how you got started with this book.
That's a really great question, Savannah, and it really was hard to title this book because this book isn't just about menopause. It's about preparing yourself during perimenopause and knowing what the questions were to ask. And I wish I would have known the questions to ask my primary care physician or my gynecologist when I was going through some really tough health issues in my mid-30s. I was pretty stressed out in a very busy entrepreneurial business that I had created, and working 12 hours a day. And I didn't realize that my adrenals were really fatigued, and I was estrogen dominant and didn't know it. And so going to my doctor, they're just like, "Oh, you have fibromyalgia." And I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." And they're like, "Here, take all of these medications." And I'm like, "Oh, that's even weirder." So, I really had to dig and delve and start creating these questions that then I would put into this book, and understanding the endocrine system and understanding how hormones relate to one another. And then when I got into aromatherapy, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a connection between what these essential oils can do and our hormone balance. So I'm like, this has to be shared with other women as they prepare in their mid-30s to their mid-40s for going through menopause. And menopause is only one day of your life. It's the day that you celebrate one full year without having a menstrual cycle. That is determined as menopause. And I think it should be celebrated as much as the day that a girl starts her period. So yeah, the rest is all of the roller coaster ride that gets you there.
So can you kind of break us down? You said, so menopause is that one day. And what's before it then? You've mentioned it, but just for everybody else and for any of our men listeners, so they have an idea.
And men are just as important in this whole thing because they have to support us during that roller coaster ride. So you have these years, your fertility years, from the time that you start your menses up through, could be mid-40s. Then you start going through this where estrogen and progesterone are pretty much even. Then what happens is, as your ovaries are not doing as much work as they used to because the eggs are running out, your progesterone levels start to decline in that perimenopause phase. And then what estrogen does, it's like, I think we can do it. I think I can, like the little engine that could. And it fluctuates. It goes up and down and up and down. And that can cause a lot of problems for women. That goes through then till that menopause phase where you stop having a period for the period of a year. And sometimes women will go 6 months without having a period and think, all right, I'm halfway there. And then all of a sudden the body says, oh, no, you're not.
We got one more.
Right. So then estrogen starts to decline as well. And so during that perimenopausal phase, women's bodies are starting to change. The skin isn't as supple. It loses some elasticity. We're a little more droopier. And we start to build that little bit of extra weight within the belly and the hips. And so many women, because of the cultural expectation in our society that women should look a certain way, and if they don't look a certain way, they aren't as productive or as valued, and which is silly. That middle section of that extra 5 to 10 pounds that you gain in that perimenopausal phase is your body's way of preparing, storing up some extra hormones so that they can be slowly released over time as you age. The tricky part is when cortisol levels stay high and then insulin levels stay high, it really wreaks havoc on how much of that extra fat is stored. So, it's not always about aromatherapy, but that's a good part of what I teach women. It's also about diet and lifestyle and really owning your own place as a wise woman in your community.
And probably even about accepting that this is just a natural stage. This is something that's normal, and to make you not feel so weird about it, I guess that change coming in. And I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I went through puberty, and all of us went through puberty. And so, our parents telling us this is normal, you go through growth spurts, you start to feel weird, you have pimples, your hormones change and things like that. And I think that is just such that mental aspect of being this isn't my forever body. And you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I am not stuck with these pimples forever. And, I think
Exactly.
that's an important lesson to teach, and having to relearn that for yourself. Like I can't imagine, but I'm sure, I'll have to one day. And,
Yeah, you're so right, Savannah. If you think about, when you go through puberty, your doctor, your pediatrician, your family practitioner doesn't say, "Oh, I'm going to diagnose you with puberty."
yeah, yeah.
That would be silly. So when I tell women, like, you're just going through, that reverse puberty, you're going back to your childlike ways. Like, you can have that freedom that you had when you were a child. You don't have to worry about a period every month, and but we have to get you there, and that's going to be an awkward phase when periods start being irregular and sporadic and your body starts changing. So stick with it. And I wish that, there were more people out there telling women, it's okay. This is just a phase that your body's going through. So be kind to it, support it however you can, and you'll get through it.
Right. And I wonder why the doctor was so quick to kind of, I guess, brush off the possibility that you were going through this part where your body was changing, and to instead, prescribe you something else. Do you have any curiosities about that, or wonder where that was from?
I think that they just, they treat endocrinology, or the study of hormones, as like a specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets disconnected from the rest of, when I look at a woman's body, the first thing you should talk about, no matter what age they are, is their hormone levels, because that's going to dictate how their digestion is. It's going to dictate how their mood is. It's going to dictate all of these other parts and systems in their body just by what their hormones are doing.
And I feel like that's a really good time to transition, because you did talk about in your book some of the 5 key hormones that kind of play a role. And I just wondered if you can kind of touch on them. And you don't have to go into all the details in your book. I think some people should just read it and really see for themselves. But, to kind of give people an idea of where you're coming from with it.
Well, the way I laid this book out is, I want people to scribble in it. I want them to take notes. I want them to be able to take this book to their doctor and have some really good questions ready for them. So I designed, we talk about estrogen, we talk about progesterone, cortisol, all of these hormones, leptin, which people don't like. What's leptin?
Yeah.
Leptin is it's a satiation hormone. So if your leptin is out of balance, you're going to be hungry all the time. You're never going to feel satiated. And that becomes really key in managing a healthy body weight through perimenopause. Oxytocin, we talk about that, and the happy hormone, and how to stimulate that. And essential oils do that. I think and then I take the anatomy of a hot flash. I mean, that's one of the most common symptoms for women going through perimenopause. And also talking about PMS and estrogen dominance, because, I talk to women about, your estrogen is going to fluctuate and then it's going to go down. But many women remain in an estrogen dominant state because of xenoestrogens, which are chemicals in different products like face care, body care products, laundry detergents, dryer sheets, all kinds of different things that mimic estrogen in the body. So you may be doing all the right things with your food and all that kind of stuff, and you could still be estrogen dominant. So I spent some time talking about that. And through each section then in the book, it's got a checklist of symptoms. So you can go and check, what are the signs of low estrogen? And it goes through achy joints, anxiety, brain fog, depression, and a whole list of things. So you can make a checklist and say, oh, wow, I'm experiencing these symptoms. Maybe I should talk to my doctor about low estrogen or cortisol or whatever that's going to be. And then I've put some charts into the book that are symptom mappers. So I've taken all of these highs and lows, high estrogen, low estrogen, low progesterone, high cortisol, low cortisol, insulin, thyroid. Those are really the most, what I think are the most important. And if I had to put a number one, I would say high cortisol is the most important one. If you can manage your cortisol levels, which are your stress hormones associated with your adrenal glands, those little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, if you can manage cortisol, then you have a better chance of managing insulin, estrogen, and progesterone, and also thyroid. Cortisol is a key hormone, I believe, in hormone balance.
Is that where you started with your own journey?
I did, because I realized my adrenals were so taxed out. And just a little bit of info, that when your ovaries are done doing their job, they are going to pass that baton off. And they're going to pass that in this relay race we call life. They're going to pass that to the liver and the adrenal glands. So if the liver is congested, and if the adrenals have had a lot of stress over time, they're not going to be able to do as good of a job of managing those hormone levels as they should. So again, you're going to get those fluctuating levels and hot flashes. The liver is the organ of heat in the body, the organ of anger when we think of Chinese medicine. And so it's going to be throwing out those hot flashes if it's feeling congested. So those are good things that I don't think that the doctors really have time to talk to patients about in that type of a way.
Are these things that can be kind of checked with like blood work, or how do you kind of figure out where or how you can, besides the checklist? So the checklist is a great place to start. You're looking at these. Are there things that people can do to be more in tune with them?
Right. And then having those conversations with your doctor based on the checklist, then you can talk to your doctor about, and then they might be able to say, well, maybe we can do this blood test, find out what your liver enzyme levels, or we can do a cortisol test. That's a saliva test that you can order online. Very simple, to find out what cortisol is doing. So those are just helpful tools to talk to your doctor about. In the book, I've taken those symptoms, and then I've laid out an essential oil remedy mapper. So I've taken those same highs and lows, and I've done a checklist of the essential oils that help them come back into balance. So you can cross-reference the two lists.
So can you name a few of the essential oils that, you think are really important for women to know about?
One of my favorites for managing cortisol and helping the adrenals is black spruce. And I just love the black spruce. You can put it in a roller bottle with some carrier oil and just rub that over your adrenals morning and night, and it just nourishes the adrenal cortex. I especially like clary sage. Clary sage has this innate wisdom to know what hormone receptors to send out based on what your current chemistry in your body is doing. So if you're going through perimenopause, it can help balance estrogen levels. If you're in your reproductive years and in labor, having a baby, it can help dilate the cervix to help you have that baby. It's good for menstrual cramping and calming those menstrual cramps and PMS. So it just has this real innate wisdom.
Yeah, clary sage, it's the cover of your book. So I was excited to talk about it. It was actually one of the first oils I ever really got to know. And it's probably been one of my favorites. I just always enjoyed that scent, but I always wonder if there's more of a connection now that I know how much good it can do for just women's happiness, women's health. And, I'm super hormonal, and I know that now. I get super emotional. And I think clary sage has been kind of one of my favorite oils. And I wonder if there's always just some connection with that. Like our bodies know us better than we do sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. And it has sort of an adaptogenic quality to it. I like holy basil for that too. It'll help those cortisol levels and insulin and thyroid. It helps support all of those. As far as like another one that I really enjoy, I suppose jasmine. Jasmine has this nurturing quality to it, a feminine energy, if you will, that helps you feel nurtured and supported and taken care of. I like to put it on the heart space. There's a point on the sternum called CV17, if you're familiar with acupuncture points. And I love jasmine on that point because it comforts the heart and sort of just helps tell your body, this is going to be okay. This is just something you're going through, and you're going to get through it.
So in your book, I kind of wanted to talk about like some of the research and what elements you brought into the book. Can you tell us about background and what you were reading in preparation to get this published?
Well, I worked with Hormones Balance, a woman, her name is Magdalena Upschlacki, and she has a company called Hormones Balance. And I did customer service for her. And so she focuses a lot on women who have Hashimoto's. She's really into the research and digging into all of the science and the background with that. And so I culminated a lot of information from her and from Isabella Wentz, who also works with a lot of hormone balancing issues with women, and really followed that for a whole year and answering questions and finding answers for women and suggesting different protocols, not only for the oils, but for nutrition and supplements and things like that. So there will be future books in the Menopause Success series. I'll probably do one on food and another one on nutritional supplements to help support women. But with my kinship to essential oils, I felt like that was a good first book. But there's so much research out there. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to ask you, as someone who I'm 24 years old, so, looking at my timeline, I have some years reading this book in advance of it kind of makes me think that there should be something I could be doing now to support my body. And even before it gets into those phases and things that I could be doing ahead of time. Do you have any advice for someone in my shoes?
I think, doing things that support and nourish the adrenals. So managing your stress on a daily level, supporting your immune system and your digestive system through nutrition, through the use of oils, creating some nice rituals for yourself that are nourishing self-care. I think one of the biggest things that women neglect about their own being is that they don't remember to nourish themselves. We're mothers. We're women who give. We are, in this role where we're expected to have a career in the man's world and then be able to put on a great dinner and do laundry and keep up on household chores.
Right. And we really seemed like we opted for the full circle. We want to work. We want the jobs, we want the high paying jobs, but we also want to be the nurturers and the mothers and be home with our kids and have good food on the table and have a clean house and, be crafty and all these other little things that come into it.
And so asking yourself, where am I getting my nurture? Where am I having a creative outlet for myself? And not asking that in a selfish way. It's imperative. It's no different than brushing your teeth every day. You have to nurture yourself. And that will be so much in your favor as you learn to do that every day. Meditation, quiet time where there's nothing except you and your thoughts and your feelings, and whether that's journaling about them or dancing or, enjoying your feminine body, that's really important.
Yeah. But
I wish I would have done more of that.
Yeah. Well, and it is kind of, I find myself going through phases in and out now where I'm like, I should just love myself and be happy and I can really be there and in the moment with myself. And then other phases where life just comes at you and it's just next thing after the next thing after the next thing. And, I do find my skin looks better when I'm going through times where I'm thinking about myself. My happiness is better. I don't overeat. I don't just grab my hand into the candy jar over and over again. I'm very intentional about everything. And it comes in waves. It is really hard to keep that, I guess, lifestyle up sometimes.
It
But
is, and it's just a reminder, getting away and doing a retreat weekend, whether it's just going and camping in nature or a nature walk if you don't have time to get a weekend away. But I saw your natural glow state when we were in Egypt, so I know you can get there.
I know it really was. And I do find myself, and especially with the weather looking up now and we're headed into summer, I just find myself smiling every time I walk outside and smell that morning air. So finding those moments, and
Yes.
it's easy when the weather is really nice. We always kind of turn into
Mm-hmm.
recluses in the winter, and there you get your
Mm-hmm.
seasonal depression, and that's always the tough one. But I you
Right.
know, I do want to kind of talk to you about what it was like publishing a book. And you kind of touched on, what was your inspiration to write it, but what really like set it in motion? What really started you actually sitting down at a computer and, typing?
Wow, that's a really great question because, as you know, I'm an aromatherapist and a reflexologist, but I'm also a health coach, and I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is the world's largest health coaching institute. They have over 110,000 graduates, and they have a program called Launch Your Dream Book. So any graduate of the school can enter the Launch Your Dream Book program. And it's a 20-week program where they teach you how to self-publish. So the book was self-published, and I wanted to take the course because I'm like, I don't think this is going to be the only book I write. I think there's going to be a couple more coming out. And so I wanted a good template of how to do that. And it teaches you can publish through Amazon or Ex Libris, any of those self-publishing platforms. And so I did it with a whole group there were over 130 students in our class, and we had an accountability partner, and then they just taught us from A to Z how to get it done. And I don't know how I did it, but in 20 weeks I was published.
20 weeks. Wow.
So,
That's
20
incredible.
weeks. Yeah.
And was this during your own transition to menopause too? Were you kind of doing this all at once, or was this something like after the fact, looking back and being like, I need to?
Looking back. Yeah, it was looking back and saying, wow, this was a journey, but it's not over. It's about creating a community for women all over the world through this book to get together and talk about this subject. Women from my age group, and I'm 59, and our parents didn't necessarily talk to us about, having a period and what happens, and they just didn't want to talk about that, and so they never shared that information with us. So we were kind of like left in the dark, and I'm like, no, we need to talk about this. So Menopause Success is an online community where we talk about this, and people can ask questions and share their experiences. And I want to put this into program form as I have an online program, Aromatherapy, Your Gateway to Happy Hormones, which is a little 4-part video series. But the inspiration there is to create a global community where we can get together and have retreats and have that self-care time and learn from each other and learn new ways to enrich our lives.
Oh yeah. So how can people find this? Where can they find it at?
The online program, or
yes.
If you just go to Menopause Success on Facebook, there's a Facebook community there, a Facebook page. And I'm on the Teachable platform for the program that I do. So that's on, it's menopause-success.teachable.com.
Okay. menopause-success-teachable.com. Okay. I will put those in the show notes.
I think it's .teachable.
.teachable. Okay. I will add that to the show notes.
I'll email you the link.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
I'll email you the link. So, yeah.
Okay. And so do you teach any workshops yourself? Do you have any in-person workshops?
I do teach some in-person workshops. I couldn't tell you my schedule right now. It's so funny. If I don't have my date book in front of me, I don't have my brain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm developing another program because I do some aroma point therapy, and it's based on Chinese medicine acupuncture points. And when you match the right oil to the right point, it creates a healing response. So we're doing some menopause. We're going to call it Meno Point, Meno Point therapy. Yeah, an acupuncturist friend of mine, and we're going to team teach that, and then create some retreats around it. So we're developing that program this next month in June, and then we're going to roll that out in the fall and offer that in several different locations around the United States for wise women to come and take part in and learn some really, really amazing protocols.
How wonderful. That is so awesome. And I'm so happy you are building this community, because you're right. I mean, my mom told me about my period and she's like, everything will be okay, but you'll be bleeding. And I was like, what? And you're like 8 years old, like, excuse me? And she's like, but that means nothing's wrong. It's fine. It'll just happen for a long time and then it won't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
but you're so fortunate that you had somebody who actually sat down and talked to you about that. And
yeah.
And I think that's been a missing conversation for many women, or there's been shame around it in other cultures. And I mean, in India, they don't allow the girls to go to school while they're having their period.
That's
I just
crazy.
Yeah, I know. And so we have to change those kinds of cultural stigmas for women.
And I think the first place to start is just having conversations with people and making it a normal conversation and something that it's okay to have. And then those people will talk to their daughters, and they'll talk to their daughters, and they'll talk to their daughters' friends and their sisters and all of that. And, that's kind of how you start. You make it a conversation that you can have and not something taboo or, something that's saved for like your women's health classes. But,
yeah, and wouldn't it be amazing in another generation if your generation could change that perception, and then the next generation, by knowing how to do this self-care and everything, that women would have such a much easier journey through perimenopause and into their wisdom years that'd be so amazing. There'd be a whole lot less anger in the world.
And so much more understanding. And I think, like you said, it's important for men to kind of recognize it too. I don't think they're out of the equation. I think they need to understand just as much as women need to understand, because, they need to understand what's going on with women from a psychological, a physiological perspective, as well as just like being able to not sympathize, the other one, empathize with them, and
empathize. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and men go through hormone changes too. Menopause is real. And you're seeing rises in breast cancer in men more so than there used to be, because they're getting estrogen dominant as well from some different, like fire retardants in fabric, and formaldehyde that they put in fabrics. Those are xenoestrogens that change the way your body sees hormones.
I think that is some of the most interesting aspect of it, is knowing that there are so many things that we're using on a regular basis that are putting in these fake hormones and changing our system for us. And we kind of know that the way that people look and act and respond differently and throughout time, and how we're coming into more contact with things like that. But it is pretty profound to see the actual effect. So I'm really glad you mentioned that in your book. And, I think that was something I was like, I need to research more about this part.
Right. You can go to ewg.org, and they'll if you look up endocrine disruptors on that site, you'll get their list of the 12 most prevalent endocrine disruptors.
Okay, that's good to know. So EWG, okay,
.org.
.org. Okay. And so getting to our time here, and I kind of just wanted to leave everybody with some information, and I thought you could help me. I want to know what 3 oils, if you could narrow it down to 3 oils, every woman should keep on hand for hormone support, and maybe like one easy way and how to use them.
Okay, 3 oils that you should keep on hand in relationship to hormone balance.
Yes.
Well, of course, number 1 is clary sage. And clary sage, I would say, is really good as a spritzer for just overall hormone balance. I like to just spritz it as I go out the door in the morning. I keep a little spritzer bottle in my car so I can spritz before I go into the grocery store. I just really enjoy that. Second one, I would say geranium. Geranium, if you apply that to the bottom of your feet morning and night, just like with a carrier oil, just rubbing it on the bottom of your feet, in the arch of the bottom of your feet, will diminish cravings for sugar and simple carbs.
Oh,
I think that's really helpful going through, perimenopause and menopause, because it helps. Geranium's a middle note, and it helps really. It wants to help your body balance. And remember those beautiful geranium fields we saw in Egypt?
I do. I think I'm actually picturing that right now, and I was like, I can get behind keeping geranium on hand. That was a beautiful smell. Even more connected to it now, I feel like. Right, yeah.
And the third one, I would say bergamot, because it's a citrus, and it's very uplifting. So it's very helpful for the emotional body. There's a point in your ear. You can look it up. It's the Shen Men point, Shenmen, Shen Men. And it's in the top deep valley of your ear. And that's an aroma acupoint point in Chinese medicine. And when the scientific research behind it is when you place bergamot on those points, and you can do it simultaneously, just gently holding it, it balances the left and right hemispheres of the brain and drops you into a state of relaxation.
Ooh.
And I can't think of, any time more emotionally chaotic than menopause.
Right.
Is perimenopause, is that you need that balance between the left and right hemisphere of the brain and dropping you into that state of relaxation, sort of just allowing your body to recalculate, allowing that clary sage then to help, clarify and balance, and then the geranium on the bottom of your feet. The combination of those 3 are so supportive and nourishing, and you can create a daily ritual around just those 3 oils.
Okay, so clary sage, geranium, and bergamot. Well, I am so glad I got the opportunity to talk with you, Angela, and read your book. And I'm definitely keeping it on hand. It'll be something that's on my shelf, and I know when those days will come about, because I'm going to flip to my little checklist, and I'm going to be like, check, 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 calling my doctor and saying, I think this is what's going on. Can we have a talk? So, I would like to say I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. But I'm just glad that this process, and knowing that this process is natural, and I welcome, every day being a woman and being able to have this ability to give life, and then going through all the motions with it. And I wouldn't trade being a woman for the world. I think it's empowering and
I know,
so beautiful. Yes. So I'm glad.
And also knowing that when you get to that point, you're going to have this beautiful, rich community of wise women to support you through Menopause Success.
Yeah, and hopefully bringing in the next generation of people that are comfortable talking about this and talking about it with my friends and loved ones. And I'm, looking forward to it in a way that I know it's further off, and I'm glad for that. But also I know that day will come. So thank you so much for being here and chatting with me. Do you have any websites or anything you want to plug? I know you guys can always shop this book on the Naha store. So they can find it anywhere else, or your website or anything?
Amazon.com. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle. So you can find those places. But I go to the Naha website first, and you can always check out everything that I'm doing on angelasidlo.com. Facebook. That's the Menopause Success page. Angela Sidlo on Facebook as well. So any of those places.
Okay. And Angela is also our regional director in Oregon. So if you are in the Oregon area and want to get in touch with Angela, see how you can connect more with NAHA or with aromatherapy in general, you can always go to our regional director page and find her contact info there. So.
Yes, and I do in Oregon. I do teach at the Oregon School of Massage. I teach the foundations of aromatherapy. It's a 4-part class, so they can take that. Whether they don't have to be a student of the school. Anybody can take those classes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Angela. Hopefully we can come back and do this again next time you've got a book, or next time you want to come and talk to us about things women should know about their bodies.
Awesome. To be continued for sure.
To be continued.
Thank you, Savannah.
All right, Angela. Have a good one.